Welcome to video 2 in this series on formatting fundamentals. In this video, we'll be walking through how to format a header for a section of our model. One note, I'm assuming that by this point I did my general worksheet setup that I showed you in the previous video. This means that I have the right font type and font size. Jumping in, as you can see, we have a section header. We have data qualifiers, which is the line that says the financial data is all actuals, not projections, and we have the years of data shown. The first thing we're going to do here is add the correct color scheme to the data. For this video, we're going to use a cell color of dark blue with white bolded text. Generally, in the investment finance space, blue is the most commonly used color, so if you don't know what formatting the firm you're interviewing with prefers, defaulting to this shade of blue is a pretty safe bet. To select the cell background color that I want, I'll first highlight the cells in question and then go to the drop-down arrow next to the paint bucket icon. From here, I can select a shade of blue that I like. As a matter of general formatting, always try to use darker colors when formatting cells, as they can show up better when pasted into a memo. Now that I've changed the cell background color, I can change the font color. I want the text to be white and I want it to be bolded. To change the text color, I click the drop-down arrow next to the A with a colored line underneath it. In this case, I'll then select the color white. To bold the text, I can either click the B icon under the font type or hit Ctrl B on my keyboard. Ctrl B is a shortcut I think every operating system has, so you should always be able to use it. Now that we have the right color scheme and our text is bolded, the next thing I want to do is fix the fact that my text in column B is being cut off. To do that, I'm going to highlight the text I want to adjust the column size for, go to the Format drop-down in the Home section of the ribbon, and then select the option to Autofit column width. This will perfectly resize the column so the text in question fits within the cell. One note here, I could have highlighted the entire column and done the same thing. I did not do that here, as the subheader for this worksheet has text longer than any of the text I'm currently focused on sizing around. Because of that, I'm only auto-fitting around the text that's being cut off. At this point, there are only two more changes to make. The first change is to have the actual text cover all 3 years of data. A way that many people will do this is using merge and center. I advise against this method, as it makes the columns harder to manipulate because it's actually changing the makeup of those cells. A much better alternative is to do something called center across selection. To do this, the first thing I do is highlight the area of cells I want my text centered across. Next, I will click on the drop-down arrow next to the word alignment in the Home section. As you can see, this opens a menu that I can use to make changes to the text. For this change, I'll select the drop-down in the horizontal section and then select the option Center Across Selection. Once I've done this, I can hit Enter. As you can see, the text is now showing up across all of the cells that I'd highlighted. Despite the fact that the text now covers these cells, it has not actually changed how those cells work. This makes it easier for me to manipulate data in ways that I'm not going to cover in this series, but would be important to anyone getting into the more heavy-duty modeling. Short version, don't use merge center, use this instead. The final thing I want to do is add a white border between the years and the newly centered text. To add a border with a different color than black, I'll first highlight the numbers I want a border on top of. The next thing I'll do is go to the drop-down menu where you can use preset borders. The icon to do this looks a little bit like a window, and then I'll select the option at the bottom that says More Borders. This will open a menu where I can select where I want the border to be and change the color to anything I'd like. First, I'm going to change the color of the border to white. This will, unfortunately, make it look like all of the line styles disappeared. They didn't disappear, they're just now white lines on a white background. That doesn't matter in this case as we already have the right line style selected by default, but I wanted to let you know why that was happening. The next thing we're going to do is select the option to the right of the border color to add a top border. Once we click this box, we can hit OK and we'll see that a white border has been added to the cells that we'd highlighted. Generally, you're always going to want to use a white border to separate text in darkly colored cells. With this, we've officially set up our header. In the next video, we're going to start to dive into ways to identify formats used in a model that we did not create ourselves.